when former President Barack Obama unexpectedly spots his long-lost childhood friend Marcus Thompson serving customers at a McDonald's in their hometown of Honolulu. He's shocked by how differently their lives turned out. Instead of simply walking away, Barack makes a decision that will forever change both their lives and impact an entire community. What begins as a chance encounter leads to an extraordinary act of friendship that nobody could have predicted, proving that sometimes the most meaningful victories happen off the political stage. Barack Obama was tired, the kind of bone-deep tired that came from too many meetings and not enough sleep. His private jet had landed in Honolulu just an hour ago, and all he wanted was to get to his hotel and crash, but his stomach rumbled, reminding him he hadn't eaten since breakfast. He spotted the golden arches of McDonald's up ahead and pulled his sleek black SUV into the parking lot. It wasn't his usual choice, but something about being back in his hometown made him crave the simple comfort food from his youth. Baseball cap, he muttered to himself, reaching into the glove compartment. Even at 63, Barack couldn't go anywhere without being recognized. The cap was pulled low over his eyes as he walked through the door. The McDonald's was busy but not packed. A mix of teenagers, tired parents with energetic kids, and workers on late shifts. Barack got in line, keeping his head down, scanning the menu even though he already knew what he wanted. "Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?" the cashier asked, not looking up from her register. "Quarter pounder with cheese, large fries, and a Coke," Barack said, his voice low. The cashier nodded, still not making eye contact as she punched in his order. While waiting for his food, Barack's gaze drifted to the kitchen area. The staff moved with practiced efficiency, taking orders, preparing food, cleaning counters. His eyes landed on an older man working the grill. Something about him seemed familiar. The man was tall and lean, with shoulders that still looked strong despite his age. His movements were quick and precise as he flipped burgers, a rhythm to his work that spoke of years of practice. Barack tilted his head, trying to place him. The man turned slightly, and Barack caught a glimpse of his profile. His heart skipped a beat. "No way," he whispered. "Those cheekbones, that chin, the way his brow furrowed in concentration. Even with gray hair and lines around his eyes, Barack would recognize Marcus Thompson anywhere." "Order number 42, called another worker. Barack collected his food in a daze, his appetite suddenly forgotten. He found a booth in the corner with a clear view of the kitchen and sat down. Marcus Thompson, his first real friend, the boy who had taught him how to shoot hoops in their neighborhood park when his hands were barely big enough to control the ball. The friend who had disappeared without a trace right before high school, and now here he was, flipping burgers at McDonald's. Barack unwrapped his burger automatically, his eyes never leaving Marcus. He watched as his old friend wiped sweat from his brow with his forearm, checked the temperature on the grill, and called out instructions to a younger co-worker. There was dignity in his movements, a pride in doing his job well. 1,000 questions raced through Barack's mind. What happened to Marcus after he left? Why was he working here at this age? Did he ever pursue his dreams? Did he have a family? Did he ever think about Barack? Barack took a bite of his burger, barely tasting it. He remembered how smart Marcus had been, always reading, always asking questions about the world beyond their neighborhood. He used to say he wanted to change things, make a difference. He had been the star of their community, the one everyone said would make it big someday. Now Barack Obama was a former president, one of the most famous figures in history, while Marcus Thompson was working a minimum wage job at McDonald's. Life's strange turns haunted Barack as he watched his old friend work. A young worker dropped a tray of cups, the noise startling Barack out of his thoughts. He watched as Marcus hurried over to help clean up the mess, patting the embarrassed teen on the shoulder with a kind smile. "Don't worry about it, Jaden, happens to everybody," Marcus said, his voice carrying across the restaurant. That voice, deeper now but with the same gentle strength Barack remembered. Marcus had always been kind, even when the other kids weren't. Barack's hand tightened around his soda cup. He should go say hello, just walk up to the counter and call out to him. But what would he say after all these years? "Hey, remember me, the kid you used to hang out with who became president while you ended up here?" No, he couldn't do that to Marcus. Not here. Not with other customers watching and Marcus's co-workers listening. His old friend deserves better than that. Barack noticed Marcus limping slightly as he walked back to the grill. Just a small hitch in his step, but Barack's trained eye caught it immediately. An old injury, arthritis, the result of years on his feet. The restaurant's overhead lights reflected off Marcus's name tag, making it shine momentarily. Barack's chest tightened with sudden emotion. This man had believed in him when nobody else did, had seen something special in the mixed-race kid who sometimes felt like he didn't belong anywhere. "You got heart, Barry," Marcus used to tell him. "That's what counts. All the smarts in the world don't mean nothing without heart." Barack finished his meal slowly, memories washing over him like waves. The countless hours they'd spent talking about books, about dreams, about changing the world. The way Marcus had shared his precious comic books, his father's old records, the secret hideout they'd built in the abandoned lot near Marcus's house. Customers came and went as the evening wore on. Barack ordered another drink just to have a reason to stay. He watched as Marcus checked his watch, said something to a coworker, and disappeared into the back. A few minutes later, he emerged without his McDonald's cap and apron, clocking out for the night. Barack slumped lower in his booth as Marcus headed for the door, not ready to be recognized. Through the window, he watched his childhood friend walk to an old blue sedan in the corner of the parking lot. Marcus stood straighter once outside, stretching his back before getting into his car. Long after the blue sedan had disappeared down the street, Barack remained in his booth, staring at nothing, his food cold and forgotten. He knew he wouldn't be able to sleep tonight, not after seeing Marcus, not after all the memories that had come flooding back. Barack Obama, 44th President of the United States, best-selling author, global icon, sat alone in a McDonald's booth in his hometown, feeling like that uncertain 13-year-old boy again, the boy who had lost his best friend without warning, the boy who had channeled all that confusion and hurt into becoming one of the most influential leaders the world had ever seen. Tomorrow, Barack decided, tomorrow he would come back, tomorrow he would talk to Marcus Thompson. Sleep didn't come easy for Barack that night. He tossed and turned in his hotel bed, memories playing in his mind like an old movie. Barack at 10 years old, skinny arms and legs, trying to fit in with kids who looked different from him. It was the summer of 1971 when Barack first met Marcus Thompson. Barack had just moved to a new neighborhood in Honolulu, and he didn't know anyone yet. His mother was working long hours, and his grandparents were kind but busy with their own lives. On his third day there, Barack wandered to the local park. A group of boys were shooting hoops, their laughter filling the hot summer air. Barack stood on the sidelines, too shy to ask if he could join. One boy stood out from the rest, tall for his age, with quick feet and hands that seemed to control the basketball like magic. When the game ended, that boy noticed Barack watching. Instead of ignoring him like the others, he jogged over, basketball tucked under his arm. "Want to play?" he asked, his smile wide and friendly. Barack shrugged. "I'm not very good," he mumbled. "I'm Marcus Thompson," the boy said, extending his hand. "Barack Obama," he replied, shaking Marcus's hand. "Want me to show you some moves?" Marcus asked. That was the beginning. Every day that summer, Barack would rush through his chores so he could meet Marcus at the park. Marcus was 12 then, 2 years older than Barack, and he knew so much about everything. "You got to be smart about life, Barry," Marcus would say, using the nickname Barack preferred then. "Books are your best friend. They'll take you places you never imagined." Barack tried to copy Marcus's confidence, his way of talking to adults like equals, his curiosity about everything around them. Marcus never made fun of Barack's mixed heritage or his sometimes awkward attempts to fit in. The memory shifted to a day when it rained and they couldn't play outside. Marcus had invited Barack to his house. It was smaller than Barack's grandparents' place, with furniture that had seen better days, but it was warm and filled with books everywhere. They sat on the floor of Marcus's bedroom, a Time magazine open between them. "That's Martin Luther King," Marcus said, pointing to a picture. "Man changed the world with words and courage. I want to change the world someday," Barack said. Marcus looked at him seriously. "You will. I can see it." Barack smiled at the memory. Marcus had believed in him before anyone else did, before Barack even believed in himself. Another memory surfaced, the day Marcus got his new baseball glove. His family didn't have much money, but Marcus's dad had saved up to buy him a real leather glove for his 13th birthday. "Feel it, Barry," Marcus had said, holding it out. "Real leather, like the pros use." Barack remembered the smooth feel of it, the perfect fit, the clean smell of new leather. "We're going to share it," Marcus announced. "It's our glove now." Barack had been speechless. It was the nicest thing anyone outside his family had ever done for him. They had made a pact that day, sitting under the old banyan tree near the park. Marcus had pulled out a piece of notebook paper and written on it with a pencil, "We, Marcus Thompson and Barack Obama, promise to work hard every day and make a difference in the world someday." They both signed it, and Marcus folded it carefully and gave it to Barack. "You keep it," he said, "so you don't forget." Barack never forgot. He still had that piece of paper, yellowed with age but safely preserved in a frame in his office. The memories continued to flow. The time some older boys from another school came to their park and tried to bully Barack. "Look at mixed up kid," one of them had taunted. "Bet he don't even know what he is." Before Barack could respond, Marcus stepped between them. "Leave him alone," he said, his voice steady. The older boy shoved Marcus, and Marcus shoved back. It turned into a scuffle, and Marcus ended up with a black eye, but the older boys left. "Why'd you do that?" Barack asked later as they sat on the curb, Marcus holding a cold soda can to his eye. "Nobody messes with my brother," Marcus said simply, though they weren't related by blood. Barack remembered countless evenings talking about books, about dreams, about what they wanted to become. Marcus patiently encouraging him, never making him feel different or less than. "It's all about believing in yourself, Barry," Marcus would say. "You got something special inside you. Don't let anybody tell you different." Barack took those words to heart. Even after Marcus disappeared, he kept believing, kept working, kept dreaming. Sometimes when he was studying alone, he'd imagine Marcus was still there, offering encouragement. "Keep reading, Barry. Knowledge is power. You got to want it more than anybody else." Another memory came to him, the summer before Barack started high school. He and Marcus had been talking about their futures as the sun set, turning the sky pink and orange. "You're getting real smart, Barry," Marcus said, pride in his voice. "Smarter than me now." "No way," Barack protested. "You know everything." "Not for long," Marcus predicted. "You got something special. I can see it. We'll both make it big." Barack insisted, "Just like we promised." Marcus got quiet then, looking out at the ocean. "Yeah," he said finally, "just like we promised." 2 weeks later, Marcus was gone. Barack remembered knocking on the Thompsons' door, confused when a stranger answered. "They moved out yesterday," the man said. "Heading to the mainland, I heard. Something about a job opportunity." Barack had stood there, stunned. No goodbye, no phone number, no address. His best friend had vanished from his life without a word. That night, Barack took their pact and hid it in his drawer. He cried himself to sleep, feeling betrayed and abandoned. But the next morning, he got up with new determination. "I'll keep our promise, Marcus," he whispered as he walked to the library. "For both of us." And he did. He excelled in school, then got into Columbia, then Harvard Law School, then became a community organizer, a senator, and finally president. Through it all, he kept the pact tucked away, a reminder of where he started and who believed in him first. Barack's hotel room phone rang, pulling him from his memories. It was his assistant, reminding him about his meetings tomorrow. "I need to reschedule," Barack said. "Something's come up. Something important." Tomorrow he would see Marcus again, and this time he wouldn't just watch from across the room. The next morning, Barack woke up early. His meetings were rescheduled, his day cleared. He felt nervous, like before a big speech. What would he say to Marcus after all these years? Barack arrived at the McDonald's just after the lunch rush. He parked his SUV at the far end of the lot, away from other cars. For a moment, he sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, gathering his courage. "This is ridiculous," he muttered to himself. "I've given speeches to millions. I can talk to an old friend. But this felt different, more important somehow." Barack pulled his baseball cap low and entered the restaurant. Fewer customers than yesterday, mostly elderly people and mothers with young children. He scanned the kitchen area. No sign of Marcus. His heart sank. Maybe Marcus wasn't working today. Then the swinging door to the back room opened, and Marcus emerged, tying an apron around his waist. Barack quickly found a booth and sat with his back to the counter, not ready to be seen yet. He ordered a coffee from a young server, then settled in to watch Marcus work. From this angle, he could observe without being obvious. Marcus moved differently than the younger staff, more deliberate. Barack noticed the slight limp again, not pronounced but definitely there. Despite it, Marcus worked efficiently, his hands sure and practiced. A teenager working beside Marcus dropped a spatula. The clatter made several customers look up, and the boy's face flushed with embarrassment. "Don't sweat it, Carlos," Barack heard Marcus say. "First week's always tough. You're doing fine." The kindness in his voice was so familiar, the same tone he'd used when Barack struggled with something all those years ago. "That's Marcus for you," said a voice. Barack looked up to see his server standing by his table with a coffee pot. "Nicest man you'll ever meet. Been training all the new kids for years. He's worked here a long time?" Barack asked. 5 years at this location," she said, refilling his cup. "Came from another McDonald's in Kailua before that. The manager says he's the hardest worker here. Never calls in sick, never complains." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Between you and me, he's too good for this place. Man's got wisdom, you know? Talks to me about my college classes, remembers every detail about my kids. Most people just see an old man flipping burgers, but Mr. Thompson's special." Barack nodded, emotion tightening his throat. "Sounds like it." As the afternoon wore on, Barack watched Marcus work, remembering the boy who had believed in him, who had shared his dreams and his friendship. Now it was Barack's turn to give back. When Marcus finally clocked out at 6, Barack followed him to the parking lot, keeping his distance. He watched as Marcus walked to the same old blue sedan, moving with that slight limp. Tomorrow, Barack promised himself. Tomorrow he would talk to him. But tonight, he had some plans to make. He needed to figure out exactly how he could help his old friend, how he could return the kindness that Marcus had shown him so many years ago. As Barack drove back to his hotel, his mind was already forming a plan. It was time to show Marcus Thompson that their childhood promise had never been forgotten, and that true friendship could bridge any gap, even one spanning decades and vastly different life paths.